Hey, welcome to Married with Kids, where we are helping you become a better parent and a better spouse one step at a time. I'm Mark Brewer. I'm your host today, and I have joining me all the way from Florida our co host, Andrea Lathrop.
Hi, Mark. Good to be with you today.
Hey, I'm so glad to be with you, and your hairdo is looking, well, ravishing. How about
I asked you not to mention that, but I'm going to mention your hair, which
and
is
what
very
and how?
creative.
Oh, okay, creative. So mine's creative and yours is ravishing. Well, this is my summer cut, and I'm gonna keep it for a while, hopefully. I tried to get a little sun on it so it wasn't shiny as much on the video, but that still remains to be seen. Hey, today we're gonna be hitting a really fun subject. We're talking about fear, and especially in this COVID-19 season, there's a lot of fear. But what's funny is people don't recognize fear's here all the time. It's just that right now we have something to kind of point it toward. But it's here all the time. I was thinking about one of my biggest fears every day, all the time, ongoing, and that's being stranded in a restroom with no toilet paper. So that's always one of my first things I do when I walk in. I make sure there's toilet paper in there.
Wow. Wow. Um, that's really interesting, Mark. I'm not surprised that the bathroom has come up
Right.
this early in the show. But I think about fear and anxiety a lot because I feel like we're talking about a different pandemic right now, but there has been an anxiety pandemic going on in our country
Yeah.
for a long time. I read something the other day, like 44 million people identify as like overly anxious, and I wonder,
That's a lot of people. That's over 10% of the population.
yeah. And a lot of researchers are calling Generation Z and our youngest generation like the most anxious generation to ever live. And I'm sure that the reasons are really complicated, complex,
Mhm.
multifaceted. But I wonder if one of the reasons there's so much fear and anxiety is because we have like unprecedented access to information and to news.
Right.
So even though the crime rate has been lower now than it has been since like the 50s, because we know every bad thing that happens all the time and we
Mhm.
we don't miss any of it. We're kind of being bombarded with it. It doesn't feel like it's a safer time, and
I
I think
know.
that adds to the
It's crazy. And when you think about it, most just regular people live in a mode of safety and resourcing that's far beyond the greatest kings in history. It just on an everyday basis. But I think about my generation, man. We had cars. They didn't have seat belts, or we didn't wear them. We didn't have rear view cameras. We didn't have backup lights. Everything was obscured in the view and all of the rear view mirrors and everything. And somehow we made it. I made it, and life is safer now. But it is crazy. All around us, things are safer than they've ever been, and yet we've got just as much fear or more fear around that kind of stuff. So here's what we know: everybody has fear. So I've got fear. You got fear. All God's people got fear. But moms and dads and spouses, we've got our own brand of fear that we're navigating through. And so we thought we had hit at this show and do something a little bit different and share some of our personal experiences around fear. So we're going to do that next. I'm excited to be here with you.
Okay, Mark, I've got the first question. What was your greatest fear as a kid?
Hmm. That's there's probably a number of them, but I can remember one. There was a season of about a year and a half where I kept feeling like I couldn't breathe, like I couldn't catch my breath. I didn't have asthma, I didn't have some kind of disease or anything, but I'd lay in bed at night and just start freaking myself out, like somehow my body wasn't going to be able to know that it was supposed to take the next breath. And so, man, there was some restless sleep cycles for me, and I was probably like 7 or 8. But man, it was scary, dude. And I didn't want to tell anybody, so I basically just did it all alone, just trying to figure it out, man. But yeah, it was kind of scary. At least to me, it was.
No, that is scary.
What about you? What's something you were really scared about, or you had a lot of fear around?
Yeah, I think initially I think of public speaking because I do remember some nerves around that for sure. But maybe bigger than that was my fear of mice. And because I grew up in the country, and we just had, mouse traps set around.
Wait, hold on a second. I just learned something. I didn't ever remember hearing you talk about growing up in the country.
Really?
Yeah, man, I'm learning all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah. I had Amish for neighbors.
Oh, okay. So you were almost Amish. You were growing up in the country and you had mouse traps.
Lots of mouse traps at all times. And so my brother knew this about me. And I remember on a Sunday afternoon taking a nap on the couch. And he thought it would be funny to dangle the dead mouse from the mouse trap over my nose.
Bad idea.
And wake me up with that hanging right over my face. And when I woke up, I freaked out and I went to turn in away from it, and I hit the mouse trap, and the mouse came off and was stuck between me and the couch. Oh, it was awful.
Wow, so you were laying on the couch with a mouse, a dead mouse, a smushed mouse.
A smush mouse.
Yeah, so how are you and mice nowadays? You guys okay?
Yeah, I feel better about it.
Wow, that was really confident. Okay, look, I got a question.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Married with Kids. Fear is an issue we all face at one time or another. If it happens to be something holding you back in your career, make sure and check out our show Career Goals this Thursday to find out how you can overcome and take that next step. And now, back to Married with Kids with Mark and Andrea.
Okay, let's do this. Have you ever used fear to motivate one of your kids? And I'm using motivation in quotes.
Yes. I think absolutely. Especially when it comes to safety. I just have all these memories of trying to teach my kids about crossing streets. And we did so much work on that, in the early years. And then even just recently, Parker has started skateboarding or biking to school from our house, just a couple blocks. He doesn't even turn into traffic or anything, but it's almost every day. I try to remind him of the consequences without being too morbid or,
Wait. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. When you're reminding him of the consequences, you're saying, Parker, remember the story of the kid who rode in front of the bus and got smashed to smithereens? What do you mean you're reminding him of the consequences?
Yeah, I'm just going, Bud, make sure you pay attention. Watch out for cars. Watch out, just.
Because you may die?
I prefer.
Are you saying the word? Are you saying the word?
No. No, so I'm not going there, but I'm trying to remind him, keep this in front of your mind as you're traveling to school.
Okay.
Dangerous out there.
It's dangerous. So you're using it's dangerous language to help him be aware of his surroundings as he's riding his bike to school. Okay. That's a good one. I did a poll with my kids prior to this. So I did a little family text because I wanted to find out, hey, what are sometimes you guys can recall us using fear to kind of motivate you or manipulate you? Parents, that's a fine line between the motivation and manipulation. Well, my two youngest kids, junior and senior in high school, Mason and Ella, they couldn't come up with anything. They couldn't think of anything. So my oldest son's on the text. He's 5 years older than them. And what he texted back was, you guys don't want to hear my insight, LOL. And so Melanie, my wife, texted back, oh, no, Dad asked. You should tell him, but please be gentle if you can. So in fact, I wrote it down here. Let me find it. Yeah. So here's what my oldest son said. He said, yeah, one of the big fears that you guys used against me, it was like you indoctrinated a child to fear God. And if he didn't believe in God, he was going to die and go to hell and burn forever. So this is my oldest son reminding me that somewhere along the way, we probably had a conversation like that with him. And it's just a reminder that maybe the hellfire and brimstone, maybe it might not be the best motivator. You might want to use love or something else. But yeah, I thought that was pretty insightful for him to remind us of using that for him.
Wow. Wow. Okay, Mark, how have you helped a child overcome a fear?
Okay, again, I went to the poll and asked my kids, and guess what they came up with?
What?
Exactly. You can't think of anything, and neither could they. So I'm just going to tell you from my perspective what I think I did that helped them. And it was this. Anytime they had a fear, say they were in the bed and they heard a noise outside, or they felt something under the bed, or something was in the closet, we just jumped right into it. We just leaned right into it. I was like, "Oh, there's a monster under the bed. Okay, well let's get on under the bed. Let's turn this light on, see if we can find him, and we'll tickle him." Or you heard a noise outside and there's a scary shadow. Okay, well, hey, get up and let's go outside and go see what it is. And we just always hit it head on. Now they're telling me right now that may or may not have made a difference. Maybe we'll see when they start raising their kids. But that's definitely something I did, I think. But I'm a Christian. Not everybody watching this is a Christian. And I definitely played the God is bigger than fill in the blank card plenty of times along the way.
Yeah, I love that Veggie Tales song. That has been really useful in our home too, in those kind of scary monster years. Sure. I have some like mantras and things I say. I think they're becoming more annoying than helpful, but I still kind of go to them sometimes. It's like we do hard things. Like courage is about showing up, not being perfect. And I think about how important it is to make a connection with my kids when they're facing something tough or scary. And I have to remind myself, sometimes the right response or the right words or the right info makes a difference, but
Yeah.
not always. But what always makes a difference when someone's in a tough place is a connection to someone who genuinely loves and cares about them. And so I think at my best, I can kind of practice empathy and listen real well. And but at my worst, I get kind of dismissive, or I kind of throw something back, oh, you'll be fine, or it's not that big of a deal, or kind of diminish. So I try to stay kind of aware.
That's actually so hard. Think about it. It's so hard because we know so much now and we've experienced so much life. So when our kids are walking through or bumping up against these fears, we know they're going to get through. We have no doubt in our mind. And sometimes that knowing will cause us to be a little dismissive, like you said. And that's a battle. That's a constant battle, especially when they're younger, to not just blow it off and go, "Oh, you're going to be fine. It's all going to work out. You're going to become an adult eventually, and you're going to look back." We always start kind of storyfying it as if that's going to fix it. But I love what you said, man. You just lean in, and it's about relationship and not dismissing it, but just walking the journey. That's so great. Okay, I got a really good question next. Okay, give an instance where you were anxious about one of your kids.
I have so many of these, Mark. I'm not proud of that.
And I'm actually not surprised that you're confessing that.
Okay, offline we'll have to unpack why you're saying that. But I think like I'm already kind of a nervous sports watcher, and if it's a team I care about, or like, so anytime my kids do anything, which sports, school related, choir, whatever, it's like I can tell, like, I get a little nervous.
Well, okay, let's talk about that just quickly. That's because you like to win. You're very competitive and you want them to win. So maybe that's where it stems from. Again, we can do some more offline talk. All right, so what's an instance? Give us one.
Yeah. Okay, so last summer, McKenna is playing in a volleyball tournament, and she's 14 at the time, and it was a really good matchup. and it went to 3 games. And you know how it is, like it's rally score these days. And so every point matters. So it gets down to the third game. They're up by 1. And our team gets a side out. And who's up to serve but McKenna? And so if she misses her serve, the game is over and they lose.
Oh, wow.
And oh my goodness, like I could hardly watch. And she said her hand was shaking so bad the whole time. But she got 3 serves in a row and they went on to win.
What? That's a great story.
It's a great story.
Wow.
Go like that, but that one was.
I get nervous about my kids making plays in sports and things like that. And Mason's a quarterback and he's heading off to college to do that. So I get a little nervous about that. But really, it's more the physicality that I get nervous. So Ella has done competitive cheer for a lot of years, and she's one of those flyer people. And so every time they throw her in the air like 15 or 20 feet up, and she's doing all these flips and her legs are flipping over each other and her body's contorting and twisting. And then she's supposed to come back down and those little girls are going to catch her small feet in their small hands. That's crazy town.
Yeah.
And so I developed a gear where I could watch it over the years, but man, every time I have this little thing inside of me that keeps like, clenching up because I'm nervous they're going to drop her, especially because Melanie told me about how they dropped a cheerleader when they were in high school. And then like her back was never the same the rest of her life. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Okay, Mark, have you noticed your kids or one of your kids picking up any fear that you have or maybe your wife Melanie has?
Okay, so I went back to the poll and I asked them first, and none of them could think of one that they feel like, hey, we picked this up from you, Dad, or you, Mom. So one of two things. Either I'm just really amazing in dealing with anxiety and low levels of fear, or I'm a really good hider. And I'm not totally sure which one it is, but yeah, I don't have one. What about you? What's a fear that you think your kids may be owning right now that kind of cycles inside of you?
Well, I try to keep this somewhat hidden too, but as a mom, it's like you said at the beginning, every human has fears, but there's something about becoming a parent where it's like my ability to worst case scenario and kind of project
Yes.
yes, what could possibly go wrong in the situation has definitely been honed over the years. And so when McKenna our daughter started driving just recently and had gotten her permit, right around that time, we had gotten in our first accident. I had never been in an accident. She had never been in an accident. Someone ran a red light and kind of T-boned us, and she was in the back seat. And I could just tell, like, she kind of took a step back. We both did. And the cautiousness over those next couple of months of just going, this could happen at any time, and kind of that.
Wait, did you say that ever? Did you ever keep referring back to that moment? Hey, remember what happened here?
No, but I felt like my body did every time we crossed that intersection, which we did every day. It was like,
oh man,
I kind of had that sense for a while. And I think it's like that fine line of being cautious and conservative. Like we want her to be a defensive driver, but we don't want her to be like paralyzed by fear and paralyzed by like what could possibly happen. So that's my one thought about it.
That's a good one. I like that one. When we were training all of our kids to drive, Melanie basically had to just absolve herself, release herself from being in the car during that time because she was too fearful, and she was the preeminent backseat driver. And so after a couple of sessions, none of the kids would let her go with them anymore. And they always had me going with them, even though I probably still had a lot of fear. I wasn't as quick with the dummy brake over there on that right-hand side. Okay, so we're going to land this thing. And we're going to land it with one last question. It really is just, what's the next step? So if we could do one step to help everybody kind of move forward in a positive way? If you could give them one step, what would it be?
I would say slow down long enough to really listen to where they're at. Like, even for me, I have to kind of tell myself when they're expressing something that's scary, or they're afraid of something, or afraid to do something, like, this is their experience is valid, and it's worth me paying attention to. And I would just say that takes a certain amount of margin and a certain amount of slowing down to be able to do that. And I've missed that a lot over the years, but every once in a while I'll kind of get that right, and I'll kind of become more present and
I love that.
validate where they're at.
That's really huge, that validating just where they're at without disqualifying it or dismissing it. I think that's fantastic. You know, mine's pretty similar. If I could say anything, I would just say lean into it, because you're going to have fears the rest of your life, and you're going to have challenges. You're going to have obstacles that you're facing down, and regardless of the season of life you're in. So just lean into it, learn from it, and then figure out, hey, is this something I need to work around and get away from? Or can I bite-size this into steps moving forward and really chip away at this? So this has been great today, man. I've loved this talk, and we're so glad that you guys have joined in with us on Married with Kids, a program about helping you become a better parent and a better spouse. We'll see you here next time. So fun. Have a great day.
See you soon.
Hi everyone, we hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of Married with Kids. If you would like to be a part of an upcoming show, just click the link in the description and submit your idea or comment. Each submission is an entry into our weekly giveaway, so click the link and tell us what you think.